Hello everyone, Mercurial Girl here, and I am still alive after Mercury Retrograde. Mercurial Girl gets hit hard over here. When half your birth chart is Virgo and Gemini, you're ruined every single time. But I would like to talk about these retrogrades because it has been really crazy, and I want to explain it so that you can kind of start to digest and process what we just went through. So this is definitely a video just for this time in history and what is currently going on. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the Mars retrograde and the Mercury retrograde because both of them just ended. And yeah, Uranus is about to go out of retrograde as well. So let's just talk about what all this retrograde energy has been like, and I'll give you a few resources so that you can kind of digest, reflect, and process what we are now out of. And yeah, I'll explain my personal experience as well. So Mars went into Gemini in August of 2022. Now, Mars is the planet of our energy. It has like our drive, our confidence, a lot of our anger, passion. Mars has like all of that angsty kind of energy to it. Now, normally Mars stays in a sign for like 2 to 3 months and then just like keeps moving. Now, because of that, we get the energy of different signs kind of affecting that planet of energy and drive. So we get to be charged by an air sign, then charged by a water sign, then a fire sign, and it helps us move through life in a more dynamic way. Now, all the astrologers were kind of freaking out when Mars went into Gemini in August because Mars was going to stay in the sign of Gemini longer than like it's been freaking forever since this has happened. So from August until March of 2023, Mars was going to be in Gemini. And not only was it going to be in a sign so much longer than normal and a sign that like thinks like crazy, but there was also going to be a retrograde. So the retrograde started October 30th and then just ended here in January. It was January 16th, I believe, that it stopped. And in that period, we had to deal with not only getting a little taste of that Mars and Gemini, but then having it go retrograde, where all of those big thoughts and all of those big ideas and the speed of Gemini, which is already like a little bit kind of manicky, all of that got internalized. And so all these ideas would have come to the surface, all of this, all of this, like, where do I fit in with relationships, social stuff, like all of the themes of Gemini were kind of like put on like this weird kind of hold. And retrograde affects everyone kind of differently. Obviously, your personal natal chart still changes the way this is going to play out, what area of life this is going to play out, depending on how it aspects, which just means how it correlates with your own birth chart, and then with what's going on in the current sky and how it relates to it. So for Mars in Gemini retrograde for myself, so I'm a Virgo rising, so you always, all rising signs, the current sky is going to be lined up pretty similarly, just how it affects your natal chart is going to be different. So for me, with Virgo rising, my Mars retrograde was in the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career, public image, kind of how society views you and all of that. So at the beginning of Mars and Gemini, I actually felt super energized. I wasn't thrown off by all that busy energy coming my way because I have a lot of Gemini in my chart. I think I'm kind of used to that energy. But when it went retrograde, I started really going through it. So I think just the energy of that alone, it really kind of showed ways I respond when I'm not able to output as much for the public, not able to output as much to like feel kind of inspired and happy. I get really hard on myself when I'm not putting out content and when I'm not constantly like coming up with something to do. I also have had to, really work on my relationship to knowing that just because that validation is not there all of the time, that doesn't mean that, I'm not making an impact, that people then don't like me, all of those inner critic lines that can come in. A lot of that got internalized, and I think I had to kind of play with giving myself more validation than normal. Which is good. And in the middle of the retrograde cycle, I started back into therapy. I definitely started doing a little bit more digging around different themes and topics of my life. Where I've kind of used different social situations both to escape and how I've also avoided social situations when I did need help. I think a lot of themes about that came up in a big way. I feel like a lot of things had to shift for me. The people I was turning to also changed. I feel like I had different social circles that I leaned on when things got hard because I really kind of pieced together the things that have shifted for me and then what falls into alignment within that. And then as far as Mercury retrograde goes, Mercury retrograde happens 3 to 4 times a year. So this is pretty consistent. It's always important to see what sign Mercury is going to retrograde in. So this time it was Mercury in Capricorn. Mercury is still the planet ruler for Gemini and Virgo, so I think we pretty much always get hit, but there was definitely another theme kind of tied in with Capricorn with this one, with the retrograde happening in that sign. Now, Mercury retrograde lasts usually about 3-ish weeks, and for me, the Mercury retrograde was in my 5th house. And the 5th house is the themes of inner child, pleasure, romance, and even themes on just self-expression came up. And so with it being Capricorn, it was kind of an interesting, we are in Capricorn season now, which means the sun is in Capricorn. And then, I think Venus transited into Aquarius in the middle of that. So we had an interesting shift with that. Pluto is also here close by. So lots of themes that were playing out in whatever house you had that Mercury retrograde in. So I think more, instead of having to dissect your chart so much, just look at what house the retrograde is in and just know that there was probably a lot of themes that went down in that house for this retrograde, especially if you have that Capricorn placements and the placements of Gemini and Virgo. There's definitely some other signs that got emphasized in different ways too, but we'll simplify it. So for me, what this looked like, Capricorn has such a theme of constantly going, constantly goal setting. I think for me, I haven't really slowed down. I've been working a lot, setting a lot of goals for myself, but I don't think I always give myself enough pause and reflection to feel proud of what I've already done instead of just moving on to the next thing. And when something blocks my momentum, I can get really irritated and think that thing is pulling me away, versus embracing sometimes the feeling of the ebbs and flows of life. So I definitely learned to kind of reestablish my relationship to pleasure and fun and what that looked like. I let myself lean into that. And that might sound like it should have been easy, but I don't have a lot of chill a lot of the time. So it was hard. I think it brought up a lot of emotions for me. I think it was, it felt like a very chaotic energy. Lots of relationship stuff went down for me in my personal life. There was a lot of conversations that had to be addressed, a lot of new components coming in. And it really kind of themed the fact that I don't let myself really drop into feelings without being really, really hard on myself, which Capricorn is known for being hard on themselves, but when you actually have to sit in that pain a little longer and you can't just dump it into the next thing, I think that can bring a whole other level of pain and discomfort. And I definitely felt that. So within the retrogrades, we have those two planets going direct now. And then Uranus was also in retrograde. I'll do a brief comment on this. So this would have started in August and it ends January 22nd. Uranus was in the ninth house for me, which is the house of spirituality, higher learning, higher thinking. And yeah, I think on top of that, all of the themes that kind of went with the other retrogrades, like my relationship to surrendering, like really came up for me in this one. And yeah, I think with all of the retrograde energy, whenever it is happening, I think it's important that just when the planets go direct, you might feel actually a little shift of energy, but you also should digest what just happened, what came up for you, because even though the intensity of it kind of goes away, you want to work with the retrograde energy. You don't want to, get so caught up and it's gone, thank God, that you don't also review some of the beauty in it, because I think that's where you can really work on that. Being called by the sky above to face our shadows can be really hard, but it's also really beautiful if you take on that perspective and you have this awareness that the stars are kind of sending different energy plays to us so that we learn to perceive ourselves differently, perceive others differently, perceive this planet differently. And yeah, we get a really good balance when it actually comes down to it. This was a lot all at once and we made it. We did it. I would love to hear how your retrograde period has been in all of this. I'm sending you so much love. Get out your journal, do some cards. Good luck as everything kind of goes direct, just like letting things fall into place, taking a nice deep breath and just thank you. We made it. If you ever want a personal birth chart reading, you can go to my website, sensefulwellness.com, where I offer those. I love to post astrology videos here as Mercurial Girl. I'm going to keep them rolling out. Please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for being here for another episode of Mercurial Girl. See you soon.